The Ouija board. It conjures up thoughts of demonic possessions and communications with the dead. It's a simple game. You have a board with the alphabet in the centre, numbers at the bottom with the word goodbye underneath, and yes and no in each of the top corners. You have a planchette or pointer that rests on the board, and the players place their hands gently on it. One designated person asks questions, and supposedly, if the spirits come through, they spell out the answers by moving the planchette over the letters. But how much truth is there behind these? There's no denying there have been some strange occurrences surrounding them. And if you're planning on playing one, or have already done so, then here are 5 things you absolutely must know. It's just a toy. If you go on Amazon, type in a Ouija board, and you'll be surprised that a whole host of boards come up in the toys and games section, with a recommended age group of 8+. These are the same Ouija boards that are claimed to be the portal to the undead, that summons demonic entities, and have caused players to commit heinous acts after acting on their instructions. But how can they just be a toy? Well, the original Ouija board was invented in the 1890s by businessman Elijah Bond, and production was later taken over by William Fuld. William's estate was sold to the Parker brothers, and then Hasbro, who still hold the trademark and patent to this day. When the game was first released in 1890, there was no explanation of how it worked. It just claimed that it could answer questions asked by the player, and it would answer them with incredible accuracy. This fueled interest, and mediums began to use the board as a means of communication with the dead. Today, as a result of some terrifying experiences, and aided by horror movies like The Exorcist, the Ouija board is feared by many people, and scorned by religious fundamentalists, who believe it's a tool of Satan amid claims it's responsible for bizarre behaviour, violent crimes, and summoning of demonic entities. So is it an innocent game for 8-year-olds and up, or something far more sinister? Let's keep exploring. People have actually died playing it. Despite the Ouija board being marked as a game, there are plenty of people who have had some terrifying experiences when playing one, and this includes death. I have covered some of these tragic events in previous videos, but few realise that the death of the man responsible for producing and distributing the first Ouija boards was the direct result of an instruction from one. William Fuld, the businessman who marketed and manufactured the boards, was on the roof of his new Ouija board factory, supervising the installation of a flagpole, when the railing he was leaning against gave way, and he plummeted to the ground in 1927. Fuld was rushed to hospital, but in a freak event en route, one of his fractured ribs pierced his heart and he died instantly. It later emerged that the Ouija board spirits were the ones who instructed him to build the factory in the first place. Just a coincidence, or something more ominous? What do you think? It may cause you to lose your mind and commit a crime. I've briefly mentioned this story before a while back, but it's the most heinous crime ever committed that has been blamed on an Ouija board. In February 2001, Carol Sue Alvaca from Minco, Oklahoma, was playing with an Ouija board with her daughter Tammy and her 2 daughters. During the game, Carol claimed she received a communication from God through the board, telling her that her 34-year-old son-in-law Brian Roach was evil and needed to die. The message prompted her to grab a knife and stab her son-in-law as he slept. Initially he was not fatally wounded and called out for help, but Carol and her daughter ignored his pleas and left him to bleed to death. After the stabbing, Carol then tried to kill her 10-year-old granddaughter, but Tammy managed to take the knife from her mother. Then, bizarrely, Carol, Tammy and her 2 granddaughters got into a car driven by Carol, who then proceeded to ram the vehicle into a road sign in an attempt to kill them all. Fortunately, the family survived with non-life-threatening injuries, although Carol had 2 broken ankles. Despite this, she got out of the car and tried to push one of her granddaughters into oncoming traffic, apparently believing that she had inherited Brian's evil. After this was unsuccessful, Carol removed her clothes and hid in the woods. After her arrest, she claimed the board told her to do it. She had no history of mental illness or drug abuse, and it's believed she had let the Ouija board consume her life. She was later declared insane. people swear they can communicate with the dead. The need for us to contact the dead goes way back, and over the years, some people such as mediums and psychics claim they have developed skills to be able to speak to our loved ones from beyond the grave. So when the Ouija board was introduced in the 1890s, people began to believe they had a tool that really could predict the future or contact spirits that required no specific powers to navigate. The question is, can a Ouija board actually communicate with the dead? It's impossible to say, since some have had experiences they cannot explain whilst playing them. For example, there are many occasions when it's believed that instead of messages from departed loved ones, the board deviates and non-friendly spirits filter through. It's these sort of interactions that cause all the problems and allegedly can lead to demonic possession. But there are also many positive accounts of contact with the spirit world, and users who maintain they have felt hands stroking their necks and received comforting messages from their dead loved ones, making it hard to say if the board holds special powers or not. It's interesting that most psychics, mediums and religious people discourage the use of Ouija boards to the untrained person, as they can produce medium-like effects, which in the wrong hands can produce a direct link to the darker side of the spirit world. The skeptics will say that the mysterious mechanism that powers the Ouija board is caused by the ideomotor effect, an unconscious, involuntary physical movement by the user that causes the planchette to move around the board, and has nothing to do with paranormal communication. I'd be interested to hear your experiences with an Ouija board, and your thoughts on their supposed paranormal links. There are rules. If you've already tried an Ouija board or are thinking about doing one, then you may not be aware that the board comes with a set of unwritten rules, which, like most rules, are often ignored by players. Although, ignoring these rules can supposedly increase your chances of a demonic possession. There are 3 in particular that you should always abide by. Never play alone. This is for your own safety and sanity, as occasionally you will experience an extreme reaction from the board, and it's not a good idea to be alone. Never talk about God, as you will enrage the spirits that are trying to get through, and this could cause them to be evil in nature, resulting in a greater risk of possession. And never ask the board when you are going to die. Those are the 3 main rules, but it's also important that if you no longer want an Ouija board in your house, that you dispose of it properly. If you do not, it will supposedly come back and haunt the owner, but absolutely do not burn it. If you do, you will apparently hear it scream, and this will signal you have less than 36 hours to live. The correct way of disposing of an Ouija board is to break it into 7 pieces and sprinkle it with holy water. If that is not possible, place a silver coin on the board to repel evil energy so that no spirits will come through. And one last thing, always say goodbye when you close a session. Failure to do so could result in contacted entities hanging around long after you have finished the game. So that's 5 things you need to know about the Ouija board, especially before playing it. I hope you've enjoyed, and don't forget to leave your stories in the comments, and soon on the Top5s website, which we cannot wait to announce. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.